how much of it, is connected to how much confidence you have. Should you have a specific body image? Is there an expectation of guys to have that body image? Is there a certain type of body you should have? Why should you have that kind of body? What actually defines what a man's body should be like? Is there a definition? How do you guys feel about that?
I mean, of course there's a definition. Unfortunately, it comes from the wrong areas like magazines and movies and TV shows and what have you. And I don't know why you chose this topic, because I'm feeling a bit thingy about it now. I need to obviously hit the gym, and I'm not happy.
Me too, bro.
Oh, what are you talking about, man? You barely got anything on you. But yeah, I mean, look, we've been told, I guess, subliminally or even outright in magazines and what have you, that you're supposed to have the six-pack abs, the biceps. You're supposed to be, tall, dark, and handsome, and you have to do whatever you can to get there, to reach that level. Only then will you obtain happiness or be successful in everything. Somewhat, I feel that is true, because we as people, we judge, we base things on appearance, and I do feel that if you look good and you're being compared to somebody who's not really taking care of themselves that well, and even in a setting like an interview, I feel you would have a leg up.
But is that the case of judgment, bro, or is that just a case of I, as a human being, recognize that, for example, I've got hygiene I need to take care of. This is how it is. It's not me going out my way to make sure that I'm looking good superficially, but just as a human being, how we interact.
Imam Sadiq alayhi salam told us to bring people to our way by other than our tongue, right? And a lot of that has to do with appearance.
Well said.
And how you present yourself. And if you're going to come up to someone, even the clothes you wear, before we're talking about body, the image you give off, the way you smell, the Prophet used to emphasize so much, you spend like so much money on perfume, right? He would emphasize
Only
that.
time Israf is loud.
Right? Yeah, like that's why. What does that mean? It's not about me wanting to show people that I'm a big shot, for example, but you want to present yourself in a way that he would present himself. And so when you're coming there, body image does have something to do with that. So when you come into a room, if you have a big gut and you come into the room, it's very different than when you come into the room and you have a strong posture.
And an untidy beard as well. Obviously, like strands, like
Awesome.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, bro, you make me think about my beard.
No, I'm not saying anything about I actually have an image of these characters that go on TV and pretend to be Muslim clerics.
No.
And I don't want to look at them. Imagine somebody who's
You're
not
attracted to that, but you're attracted to the one who comes in and not just commands but demands respect when he enters the room and he sits down. And it's not him being a show off. It's just the aura around a person who has a strong body. And by the way, when I'm saying this, it doesn't have to be like a six-pack or anything like that.
Yeah.
Exercise is very important. Just going to the gym or working out or knowing that you have power over your body to lift your own body weight gives you this confidence that even if you weren't looking the part, you feel the part.
He's encouraging me now too.
You feel the part.
Time to sign up with the membership.
It's very important. One thing that I realized when I was studying in the house, that a lot of the brothers don't focus on exercise, and so you find like a lot of the backs end up being very hunched because it's all you're always studying.
I remember that back in the school days, they tell you sit like this because if you don't sit like this, you're gonna end up like.
It's a problem. So when you understand your body, you understand yourself so much more. When you are healthy, health is a priority.
Oh yeah.
And when you're healthy, then there's room for everything else. So for me, for example, that jog in the morning that makes me feel better and feel fitter helps me in my prayers. When I come to prayer, I feel much better than when I feel sluggish and out of shape, and I wake up in the morning, and I'm tired, and I want to go back to sleep, and I barely remember what happened in the rak'ahs.
So, which rakat am I in? How many units was this again?
All those calculations going on in your head.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kind of allowed us and just made Fajr only 2.
Yeah, I know. He's like, I know you guys. No, I totally agree with
Body
bro here.
image is important. I think it's important. It's not that we all have to look a certain way, but I do think we should look strong and we should look attractive. Attractive, not in terms of
not to lure the opposite sex, for example,
anyone,
not to entice anybody for wrong means.
As in presentable.
Yeah.
Presentable, modest, but presentable.
But how can you, for example, how can someone gain some kind of self-awareness of what modest is? So, for example, I want to look nice, right? Not necessarily for the sake of impressing anyone, but just because I like wearing these kind of clothes.
Sure.
How far can you take that? You know, you're kind of spending on that kind of stuff.
Don't be extravagant. See, with us, it's not really about what you own. In our tradition, it's not what you own, it's what owns you. So if something's owning you, then you know that's a problem and you're attached to that. But it's okay. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to enjoy your life as well. That doesn't mean to be extravagant though. So you have to stop yourself from being extravagant. When we're giving charity, we're not giving charity with the aim of destroying poverty. We know we're not going to end poverty. I'm increasing my relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by giving this charity. I'm bettering that relationship, increasing the closeness between him and I. In the same way, when you're doing this, you want to increase the closeness between you and him. When you fix your appearance and you go out into the public and you want to preach the path without your tongue, right?
By your actions, yeah.
It's with the actions, and a lot of that has to do with the body image. So I think it's clear how far one can take it. So not to go too overboard with what you're wearing.
Don't become one of those like metrosexual males
sure.
that just, you know.
When it goes overboard is when you're walking past the mirror and you're always looking into it.
Yeah, that's
right?
Too much. Yeah.
Look at your clothes or your muscles or all that kind of stuff. That's the problem. Then you're starting to get attached to something. You're starting to obsess over it. It has to be just another part of life. It can't be the central part of life. But if you enjoy the process. You know, it's part of life. Every day is a step closer to my goal. See it that way. Instead of I want to look so great right now. It's every day I'm getting closer to where I'm supposed to be.
But you know what it is, bro? Like from my experience, that having been, you know, going to the lectures and going to the majalis, and you always hearing about how the imams are humble and all that kind of stuff. And then you go home and it's like your family want you to wear a specific way, saying, no, you shouldn't dress like that. You should dress like this, because at the end of the day you're a youth and you're thinking deep down, yeah, I know, I want to look good. But then you're hearing about the stories of the imams and you're thinking, it feels like almost a contradiction is going on. It's like, I want to do this, I want to feel good.
Yeah, they would dress humbly, but not shabbily. They wouldn't dress with something that's shabby.
Yeah.
You know, there's a big difference between that. We have to know the differences.
It depends on your intentions. Why do you want to look good? You know, you just mentioned right now that you're contrasting with what
if it's just for general confidence, not necessarily
in my opinion, that's perfectly fine. I mean, it makes you more confident. It makes you feel good. But if you have intentions where you want to impress a few girls in your class or at work, that's where you're kind of stepping over the boundaries there.
Allah jameel wa yuhibbul jamal. Allah is beautiful and He loves beauty.
Yeah, that's this. Thanks for translating that, because I didn't know what he meant. But yeah, I mean, well said. You know, it makes a lot of sense. And you shouldn't really follow what is out there in terms of the media, because they're there to give you the wrong interpretation of a healthy life.
That's very important. Yeah, you don't want to obsess yourself with it.
Yeah, like you said, don't just walk past a mirror and you have to look at yourself. Look at yourself, like, actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's some sort of hadith where when you leave the house, just have a look at yourself so you're not messy. Am I making that up or something? Well, I think I heard that somewhere, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, just have a look at yourself. So, first you don't stink and you apply your deodorant, you don't look like, long beard, see if you're trimmed nice and neat, hair is neat and everything, because you should be approachable. And that's the key. That's the key with wearing perfume and cologne. You want to be approachable. You don't want people to look at me like, oh, Islamic people or Muslims or what have you, they're dirty. That's not.
So we got two extremes going on. We got the guys who are looking like they were dressed from the medieval ages.
Yeah.
And you got the guys who are kind of like too much into the media kind of metrosexual kind of look. How do the brothers end up in those directions?
I don't know. I don't know if the brother's going to have any comments on that, but I'm going to second what you're saying, because I hate it. I hate the extremes from both ends, especially the, what do you call those? They're wearing those long cloths, day in and day out. They're just shopping in Tesco. Yet they're wearing long cloths. They got nasty long beards till here. I mean, I doubt the Prophet looked like that, because I don't want to approach you. I'm a little bit afraid of you. I'm checking to see if you have a vest or something underneath. But, that's not right. You're out in a Western society. That doesn't mean you should start. I mean, I'm not saying wear, tank tops and mini skirts and what have you.
Yeah, to be honest, I think traditional clothing is a good thing. If someone wants to wear traditional clothing, I don't see the problem with that.
But I'm talking about full-on traditional clothing though, like
To be fair, dishdasha is comfortable. Like I've always preferred wearing it.
I find it fine. It depends on where you're going. Like I wouldn't wear
Yeah,
the
that's what I
dishdasha
mean.
to a wedding, for example. Fair enough. But if I'm going to the supermarket and
what's
you
a
know,
dishdasha? That's
the
the long.
the robe.
abba kind of,
I like to wear that. I think people should wear more traditional clothing.
I saw that recently in a wedding, on somebody's wedding. My wife showed me, and it was everybody was wearing that, and it was a wedding.
See,
Why are you
that's
wearing
a
that?
traditional wedding then. See, that's different. So if everyone's wearing a suit and you come on with this dasha, then that's not appropriate. But if it's a traditional wedding where everyone's wearing that, then wouldn't that be okay?
Okay, I guess where you're coming from. I can see that, but
with me,
I wouldn't want to go to that wedding.
Why I was trying to say
I'm
is
just joking.
the point I was trying to say isn't necessarily I've got the problem with what you're dressing. The problem is you got this extreme side of who's interpreting Islam to mean you have to dress like this, and then you got this other extreme side, which is we're going to get so involved in fashion, we're going to start dressing almost like the opposite sex, or how they've been defined in the media. If you guys know where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
And how do those opposite extremes occur? And how do we make sure that we find a balance? Because Islam's all about balance, right?
Yeah.
Because the person itself is not mentally strong enough to make the right decisions. They may have an addictive personality where they see something they like and they just go full head on into it and just like you said, extreme to one end. And it's down to the person, really. It's down to knowledge, down to educating yourself, and having that balance, and bouncing back ideas from friends in your community, the circle of friends. Hopefully, you have good friends around you that don't really give you bad advice, and that's it. You kind of reflect and you use your role model. Go back to the role models. Go back to the basics. The basics, our role models are the 12 imams, and their followers, and their the walis, and what have you, and who've understood them, and who've understood the oneness of God, and who've understood Tawheed much better than we have, and kind of read up on them. I know it's hard. It's very hard. Nobody's going to want to get a book or what have you and start reading, but that's, I guess, one way.
I think we should understand that people have different natures. And because they have different natures, they gravitate towards different things.
Yeah.
And some people gravitate towards different kinds of clothing than others, right? And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but to understand why that is. So if the person is honest with themselves, and let's just say a young brother is beginning to wear skinny jeans, for example, and it doesn't look modest, like it wouldn't look modest on a girl, let alone modest on a guy.
Are we talking about a big, healthy, heavy brother? Or are we talking about
whatever it is, like clothing is very important. What kind of clothes one wears, and it shows what their nature gravitates towards, as I was saying. So, but for him, for example, if I was like one of my friends, his son, he starts to wear these clothes now, and like skirts and stuff, right? There's even like skirts, man skirts.
Really?
And so I would sit down with him and I would ask him why? Like, what is it that makes you want to wear that? And I think the natural response would be that this is what people like right now. This is the fashion, what's in today. And this goes back to like peer pressure and what everyone's wearing, and you're just copying what's successful and what's going to make you look best.
Well, that's just a sense of belonging, isn't it? And
Exactly.
that's just channeled in the wrong way.
Yeah, it's just a sense of, so really what you want to do is you want to bring a different kind of sense of belonging, that you don't necessarily have to belong to this thing because of so and so reasons that are opposite to, again, these kind of values that we adhere to or are supposed to adhere to. And then it would be down to him to make that choice about what he would like to wear.
Definitely. I mean, we've gone really deep into this.